It starts as a shadow, a shape rising from the deep, black and white, smooth as metal and silent as thought. You're floating in open water, suspended between sky and abyss, when the most dangerous predator in the ocean swims directly toward you. Not fast, not aggressive, just aware. The orca closes the distance like something that already knows everything about you, your outline, your heartbeat, your presence in its world. You expect a reaction, a charge, a test bite. Instead, it turns, slowly, deliberately, just enough to look at you with one dark, unblinking eye, a mind looking back. This is the moment divers describe as unnerving, not because the orca attacks, but because it doesn't. Because the ocean's apex predator understands exactly what you are and chooses restraint. And that choice is the beginning of the mystery. Why is the most sophisticated hunter in the sea so selective? What rule governs a predator powerful enough to tear apart great whites, drown gray whales, and outthink almost anything it encounters? The answer is stranger than anything the ocean has ever produced. Orcas shouldn't be as intelligent as they are. They shouldn't be as coordinated, as strategic, as culturally complex as they've become. But they are, and that changes everything. Most animals survive through instinct. Orcas survive through decisions. Their brain is huge, but size alone isn't remarkable. What matters is how it's built. Highly folded, densely connected, with advanced regions for emotion, memory, and social reasoning. This is not an animal reacting to the environment. This is an animal analyzing it. Their echolocation is a biological machine of astonishing accuracy. One pulse and an orca can reconstruct an object's size, shape, density, even the composition of its organs. They don't just see, they interpret. And when they hunt, they do it with a level of coordination that looks less like instinct and more like doctrine. Wave washing seals off ice flows, sprinting through schools of fish to ball them up, instantly switching targets when one animal breaks formation, using bait to lure seabirds close enough to snatch. They attack sharks by flipping them into paralysis, then surgically removing the liver with near-perfect precision. When they pursue dolphins, the fastest and most maneuverable prey in the sea, they coordinate chases that play out over kilometers, cutting off escape routes, funneling the pod, isolating the weakest individual. When they go after whales, the strategy changes again. A blue whale, 200 tons of muscle, bone, and momentum, cannot outrun them. It can only endure. And endurance is something orcas dismantle piece by piece. Dozens gather, then the attack begins. They exhaust the giant, bite at its jaw, clamp onto the flukes, prevent it from diving, prevent it from breathing. It is violent, precise, efficient, a level of coordinated predation unmatched anywhere else in the natural world. And yet, with all of this calculation, all of this ability, all of this lethal precision, not a single wild orca has ever killed a human. That is not an accident. That is a rule. Every diver who has encountered an orca repeats the same story. Curiosity, approach, examination, but never violence, not toward humans. Throughout history, in every ocean, across every culture that has recorded interactions with orcas, the pattern is identical. They watch us, they study us, they investigate us, but they do not attack. This restraint is not based on fear. Orcas have killed everything else they encounter: sharks, dolphins, seals, whales, even animals far larger than themselves. Humans are the only exception. Why? Some scientists believe orcas instantly recognize humans through echolocation. Our skeletal structure, our air-filled lungs, our shape. Others think orcas categorize us as non-prey because of cultural memory. We do not behave like their usual targets. But there's a third theory, a darker one. Orcas understand consequences. They see vessels. They observe how we react. They learn patterns of retaliation. A predator that kills by instinct does not understand escalation. A predator that kills by choice does. This is why the absence of human deaths is unsettling. It suggests conscious restraint, and conscious restraint can change. We've already seen hints of it. Pods near Spain have begun attacking boat rudders, systematically disabling vessels without harming people. The behavior spreads through the population like cultural knowledge, not random, not chaotic, purposeful. Something is shifting in their world, and we don't know what they're preparing for. To understand what an orca could do to a human, you only need to watch what it does to a great white shark. A single orca approaches from below, a burst of speed, a flip to induce paralysis, a bite to the liver. The shark dies within minutes, then they move on. Nothing else in the ocean kills great whites with such precision. Against whales, the tactics are even more extraordinary. Up to 70 orcas cooperating, each playing a role, each following a pattern passed down through generations. The attacks aren't frenzied, they're coordinated. The whale, exhausted, eventually cannot fight, and the orcas finish the hunt with a calmness that feels cold and deliberate. These hunts reveal the truth. Orcas don't dominate through force, they dominate through understanding. They know exactly what an animal can do, exactly how long it can endure, exactly where to strike. This is not instinct, this is expertise. Shared, practiced, perfected. And humans? Humans are the only animals they never test their strategies on. Not because they can't, because they choose not to. Orcas don't just hunt together, they live together, think together, evolve together. Every pod has its own dialect, unique calls that only members of that group use. This is language in the most meaningful sense, learned, taught, passed from mother to calf. And these dialects carry traditions, hunting techniques, travel routes, social rules, even rituals. In one population, orcas began wearing dead salmon on their heads, a trend, a cultural expression of play. No survival benefit, just shared behavior spreading through the pod. In another region, orcas learned to steal fish from long lines using synchronized maneuvers, a skill invented in one pod and adopted by others. In the Pacific Northwest, orcas have distinct mourning behaviors, carrying deceased calves for days. And across the world, they show an emotional depth we rarely attribute to animals. They recognize individuals, form long-term bonds, remember injuries, remember trauma, remember humans. The ocean is not just their environment, it is their civilization. And we are outsiders watching from the surface. If you want to understand a species, observe how it behaves when deprived of its world. Wild orcas never kill humans. Captive orcas have killed multiple people, including 3 by the same individual, Tilikum. Why? Because captivity does not limit orcas, it breaks them. In the wild, a typical orca travels up to 100 kilometers a day. In captivity, they swim in circles. In the wild, they communicate across entire oceans. In captivity, their clicks echo against concrete. In the wild, they live in lifelong family groups. In captivity, they are separated, isolated, frustrated. What emerges in captivity is not aggression born of instinct, but psychological collapse. It proves that orcas restrain themselves in the wild not because they lack power, but because they possess control. Remove their world and that control erodes. The difference between wild and captive behavior reveals the truth. Orcas understand exactly what they are capable of, and they choose how much of that capability the world sees. Something new is happening. The boat attacks off Spain and Portugal aren't random. They follow a pattern. Specific vessels, specific techniques, specific targets. The rudder, disarm, disable, retreat. No injuries, no deaths, just interference. A behavior spreading through pods, taught to younger whales. It raises a question that scientists hesitate to voice. What if orcas are not attacking boats, but testing them? What if this is not aggression, but communication? A message, a warning, a cultural shift passed through a species whose intelligence we still underestimate. Remember, this is an animal that can dismantle a blue whale. This is an animal that kills great whites with surgical precision. This is an animal capable of adapting strategies across generations. If such a species begins to reinterpret humans, not as neutral objects but as participants, everything changes. Their world is shifting, and they are deciding how to respond. Back in the water, the orca makes one final pass, slow, controlled, silent. It looks at you again, and in that moment, you understand the real reason humans survive orca encounters. Not because we are special, not because we are dangerous, not because we are respected. We survive because orcas allow it. They spare us not from weakness, but from understanding. A predator that kills by instinct is predictable. A predator that kills by choice is something else entirely. As the orca sinks back into the blue, you realize the truth. The ocean's apex predator is not the shark, not the giant squid, not even the blue whale. It is the mind beneath the black and white skin, the strategist, the communicator, the observer, the orca. And the most terrifying thing about a decision is that it can change. The orca fades into the dark. Its world stays hidden. For now. Subscribe to go deeper.